Tess had seen them, and on occasion felt them. She found out where I lived. Let's see if I can return the favor. Tess went back to her computer, this time searching for a Books Brown Bagger's website. She was quite sure she'd find one. Everybody had websites these days. There were prisoners doing life for murder who had websites, and she did. The Brown Baggers posted newsy notes about their members, book reviews, and informal summaries, not quite minutes, of their meetings. Tess chose the latter and began scrolling. It did not take her long to discover that the June 10th meeting had been held at Ramona Norville's home in Brewster. Tess had never been to this town, but knew where it was, had passed a green turnpike sign pointing to it while on her way to yesterday's gig. It was only 2 or 3 exits south of Chicopee. Next she went to the Brewster Township tax records and scrolled down until she found Ramona's name. She had paid $913.06 in property taxes the year before, said property at 75 Lacemaker Lane. Found you, dear, Tess murmured. You need to think about how you're going to handle this, Fritzy said. And about how far you're willing to go. If I'm right, Tess said, maybe quite far. She started to turn off her computer, then thought of one more thing worth checking out, although she knew it might come to nothing. She went to the Weekly Reminders home page and clicked on Obituaries. There was a place to enter the name you were interested in, and Tess typed stroke. There was a single hit, for a man named Roscoe Stroke. According to the 1999 obit, he had died suddenly in his home, at the age of 48. Survived by his wife, Ramona, and 2 sons, Alvin, 23, and Lester, 17. For a mystery writer, even of the bloodless sort known as cozies, died suddenly was a red flag. She searched the Reminders general database and found nothing more. She sat still for a moment, drumming her fingers restlessly against the arms of her chair as she did when she was working and found herself stuck for a word, a phrase, or a way of describing something. Then she looked for a list of newspapers in western and southern Massachusetts, and found the Springfield Republican. When she typed the name of Ramona Norville's husband, the headline that came up was stark and to the point, Chicopee businessman commits suicide. Strzok had been discovered in his garage, hanging from a rafter. There was no note and Ramona wasn't quoted, but a neighbor said that Mr. Strzok had been distraught over some trouble his older boy had been in. What kind of trouble was Al in that got you so upset? Tess asked the computer screen. Was it something to do with a girl? Assault, maybe? Sexual battery? Was he working up to bigger things, even then? If that's why you hung yourself, you were one chicken shit daddy. Maybe Roscoe had help, Fritzy said. From Ramona. Big strong woman, you know. You ought to know, you saw her. Again, that didn't sound like the voice she made when she was essentially talking to herself. She looked at Fritzy, startled. Fritzy looked back, green eyes asking who, me? What Tess wanted to do was drive directly to Lacemaker Lane with her gun in her purse. What she ought to do was stop playing detective and call the police. Let them handle it. It was what the old Tess would have done, but she was no longer that woman. That woman now seemed to her like a distant relative, the kind you sent a card to at Christmas and forgot for the rest of the year. Because she couldn't decide, and because she hurt all over, she went upstairs and back to bed. She slept for 4 hours and got up almost too stiff to walk. She took 2 extra strength Tylenol, waited until they improved matters, then drove down to Blockbuster Video. She carried the lemon squeezer in her purse. She thought she would always carry it now while she was riding alone. She got to Blockbuster just before closing and asked for a Jodie Foster movie called The Courageous Woman. The clerk, who had green hair, a safety pin in one ear, and looked all of 18 years old, smiled indulgently and told her the film was actually called The Brave One. Mr. Retro Punk told her that for an extra 50 cents, she could get a bag of microwave popcorn to go with. Tess almost said no, then reconsidered. Why the fuck not? She asked Mr. Retro Punk. You only live once, right? He gave her a startled, reconsidering look, then smiled and agreed that it was a case of one life to a customer. At home, she popped the corn, inserted the DVD, and plopped onto the couch with a pillow at the small of her back to cushion the scrape there. Fritzy joined her and they watched Jodie Foster go after the men, the punks, as in Do You Feel Lucky, punk, who had killed her boyfriend. Foster got a sword at other punks along the way, and used a pistol to do it. The Brave One was very much that kind of a movie, but Tess enjoyed it just the same. She thought it made perfect sense. She also thought that she had been missing something all these years, the low but authentic catharsis movies like The Brave One offered.